Hello everyone and welcome to the first look. Today we'll take a look at the luxury and precision EA4. Now it's in a brand new package. Let me unbox it before we start talking about more things about this particular amplifier. So this is the amplifier in a box here. When you pull it up, you'll see some of the things below. These are some of the cables provided. So they give you a charging cable. This is 4.4 and then it's a 3.5. And the version they give is pretty long, as you can see here. This is a pretty long version of the interconnects. Now for cables, I don't really need them, so I'll just put them back in the case. So they also give some rubber pads, and that will allow you to put it underneath your amplifier so that you can stand it on the flat ground without scratching the bottom of the amp itself. Some documentation, warranty card, and then some quick start guide below. And that's really about it. So let's take a look at the amplifier. You can see this is the amplifier itself. Very nice smooth surface. The volume knob. It goes from 0 to 100, and they also kindly put red color for above 70 volume so you don't blow your ears. These are all the front dials and mechanisms. Later we will look at it more. First, I'll stick on the rubber feet first before we actually continue. So you can see I put on the rubber feet, so now it will work properly. So you can see this is the amplifier itself. The amplifier is not really as big as I thought. In fact, let me show you some reference. If you actually see the Canon next to it, surprisingly, the differences are actually pretty small. It is about a cm shorter, and if you stack on top, it is only a touch, maybe like half a cm wider. And in terms of thickness, okay, this is Canon with the case, of course. Without the case, I guess about another half a cm shorter. So obviously this is a significantly bigger amplifier, but that being said, this has 6 over watt of output, which I will try later. And this one doesn't have. Both of them are tube amplifiers, but today let's try this first. Have a first impression on this before I do a comparison with the Canon C9 II later. Before I start, I'd like to thank Jaben for helping me secure this copy. They were very kind, they just told me that do I want it, and if I want it, they just help me secure one without any deposit. Same as the Fugaku, so I'd like to thank Jaben for it. Now, for this particular amplifier, the reason why I purchased it is very simple. I want to use it to power my headphones, and the thing is, I'm actually going to go somewhere else to work for a short period of time, and during that short period, I'm not going to bring my amplifiers there. So I'm only going to bring my portable amplifiers such as this, the C9 II, to wherever I'm going to work for a short period of time. So this one will be my mainstay to power all my headphones for this. This thing has so much power, and I'm very excited to use it. So you can see here, this is how it looks like. Overall, I think it's a very nice amplifier. Though I do feel that it's a bit sharp. This is going to wear off really, really soon. I mean, I can imagine that give it a month or two and all the corners will turn silver. Just like my Enleum. It's a bit sharp really. Not so sharp that you will cut your hand, but noticeably sharp. The texture is quite smooth, if you ask me. Very, very smooth texture. Now with the rubber feet, actually it stays very well. It doesn't just shake at all. And then you can see that this amplifier has the new tubes here, which I will now on it to take a look. So to on it, you just press and hold. You can actually press this to see how much power there is. And you can see this is full. Just press it, hold, and then there'll be a light that actually flickers at the side here. Now you can see that it's blinking. I'm not too sure you can see it, but you can see that this light blinking here, and then this means that the amp is on. So I'm going to connect up a few devices, and then we will do a trial with this device itself. So before I start trying out this amplifier, let us look at the front panel here. A few noticeable things, and a lot of this thing here actually affects the sound. Firstly, you can see here this is ILH and ILA. I believe this is the way it actually powers the tube. And then this is 15 volt and 13 volt. This is also how much power is going in the tube itself. Then CCCV, I've forgotten what is it. Then this is high-low current. And what you see here also is is it in class A mode or class AB mode? If you want to save power, run in AB, and if you want to use class A mode, then you turn to class A. From what I understand, it is about how much power they keep at a certain certain level. So I don't think this is like a true class A until, you know, it always outputs like 6 watt of power. That will just burn the amp's power away. But it's doing something related to it. So I'm not too sure on that. Now, I'm not too sure on how all these switches affect the sound. But what I'm going to do now is just leave it on for everything on its default state, because I'm guessing that's what they also expect people to do. You know, just take it out and put it on default state and listen. I'll do a listening first before I give you guys a little bit of comments on what I feel about this particular amplifier. So I'm going to try with my U12T here. I'm going to use my Canon N3 Ultra as the digital audio player, and in line out mode, solid state, so that, you know, it doesn't change the sound. And I'll have a listen to this device. Most importantly, because this is IEM, I just want to test the sensitivity of it, whether will there be hiss, and of course how much volume is required before it's too loud to even listen. So first, let's talk a little bit about hiss. Now, in high gain mode with this particular amplifier here, hiss only appears when you are about 60 points of volume on the dial here. So you can see there's this all the volume markers. Only at 60 point do you even get hiss with the U12T. Now the question is, how much power do we need before we can have it in loud enough volume? Less than 10. This is pretty much as loud as it goes for me to listen music. Can you imagine? To get hiss, I need to amplify it to the extreme, about many more turns, you know, before I get even to the point where I feel that the hiss will enter. In fact, I only hear hiss like 65 to 70 itself. So this is really far. What I can tell you is that for the purpose of using with, you know, IEMs, don't worry, it will not hiss, even though it is built like a crazy headphone amplifier with like 6 watt of output. Okay, that's the first thing, right? Next thing, how do I feel about the sound? Now, the sound, based on the first impression listening to this, I think it's very smooth, warm, but not like super thick. And it is really big sound, like huge sound. Once again, I'm on all default switches up. What does it all mean? I'm not too sure. But today is the first look. I will not go to explore every single switch, but I can just tell you that it is warm. It is very big sounding. Bass is impactful, but very natural. You know, there's this nice decay to the bass itself. The vocals are really sweet. Like Ado's vocals were fantastically sweet on this particular amplifier and setup here. This is on solid state mode, so it's not utilizing any of the tubes built in. Overall, I really love the sound, at least using the U12T and this combination. Like, this made U12T sound the biggest I ever heard. But you know, this can be, I don't know, maybe my own mind. So I have to compare later to really understand the difference. So this is of course with U12T. Now the next thing is I want to try with a headphone before, you know, I go into the individual comparisons. So for the headphone wise, I will be utilizing this. So of course, this is the well-known, right, Caldera close. So I will do a testing with it. Once again, I will see how much volume I need to drive this to the level that I can appreciate. And then I'll also give you feedback on how I feel about this headphone with this amplifier. So with the Caldera close, it's quite a similar experience. It feels very warm, very wide, very smooth sounding. Now this is probably the smoothest I ever heard the Caldera close. However, it doesn't reduce the sibilance. So Caldera close has a bit of sibilance to me for some of the songs. It doesn't reduce the sibilance for those. But it is still very smooth sounding. I also tried it with like the bass itself. I think the bass is very tight on this. It feels very controlled. But I don't think it's like the best bass ever. So that's something to note. Overall, I do like the sound with this particular headphone here. But I'm not sure whether can I get a better pairing, of course, with the DAP. Today is just the first look about this amp, so I will not dive too deep on synergy. But at least I do think that it improves the Caldera sound compared to some other amps I heard so far. It actually adds a bit of warm smoothness and makes the Caldera close even wider, while without it being too bright. You know, the sound is really nice. The amount of volume I required was about 50 to make it really loud. I mean, that means that, in high gain, I still have so much volume control left before this gets, too much power. Okay, now that is, of course, the Caldera close. And now I'm going to do some comparison to just see what's the difference between, this amplifier and, say, the C92 or even the N3 Ultra just running off its tube mode. And, just understand what's the difference this amp is providing. So actually, I tried this, EA4 versus the C92. I tried the C92 in modern because I find classic makes the soundstage too small for me. And I can tell you that the EA4 is truly better. Like really, really better. So what is better, right? Firstly, I think when I just shift from here to here, it gets a bit thinner. I mean, that's given because it's the modern tube sound. The classic sound will give you thicker. However, it still is a bigger sound than EA4. Like the EA4, if I was to put around my head, then the C92, when I just change to it, the sound just goes between my ears. And when I'm using the EA4, it's outside my ears and it's really, really obvious. Next is the smoothness of the sound. When it comes to the Ado's vocals and all the instruments playing, the EA4 is definitely thicker and smoother. When I switch over, it becomes thinner and a little bit more, I guess you can say a bit more cooler sounding, but less rich in the sound itself. And then when it comes to the part where the bass enters into the music, the EA4 is, I would say, as a bit quicker and deeper. And I guess the impact is cleaner also. It's very interesting. I mean, it feels like the bass itself is a better bass, a cleaner bass, and a deeper impact. Just a slightly deeper impact, So when I switch over to C92, the bass just becomes a bit looser, a bit lesser, a little bit less impactful. Very interesting, really very interesting. I really think that the EA4 is improving the sound in every single aspect, It has a bigger soundstage, it has a nice warm mid, it has a rich sound, it has vocals that are sweeter, it has literally everything better, like done better. All the while still having way, way more power. I mean, this one looks like it has turned maybe, I'm not sure, based on the volume knob here, it has turned like 20%, right? While this one only turns like 10% on the knob. And the knob wise, this knob is also better. It's like smoother. The EA4 knob is like really smooth and no unbalance from 0 to 10. This also have no unbalance, but this one definitely has less control because the knob is also smaller. This knob is like huge. You can just slowly turn and get the volume one. Really nice. So I would just say that the EA4 is a superior tube amp to the C92. So that's about it for comparison with the C92. Now I'll try comparing with like the N3 Ultra and see what's the improvement that the EA4 give over the N3 Ultra itself. So I compared with the N3 Ultra in solid state versus the EA4 as a lineup from the N3 Ultra, and the EA4 demolishes the N3 Ultra sound. Like literally it becomes more lively, things get more dynamic and punchy, and soundstage actually increase, and yet smoothness also increase, and excitement also increase. I do not know what EA4 is doing, but it is a whole lot better. It feels like absolute control on the U12T. And all the while still having that richer sound because it's tube-based versus the solid state mode in N3 Ultra. I'm pretty sure the N3 Ultra in its tube mode will not give the same effect because I have compared internally before. I know that the tube mode will give a warmer sound, but it doesn't make it more exciting. It doesn't make it more bassy. It gives a bit more soundstage, but that's why this is like an increase in soundstage, increase in excitement, liveliness, richness, and most importantly, it actually feels clearer. Oh my, it's clearer in its tube mode than the N3 Ultra in its solid state mode. Really interesting. I'm not like gushing over it, but truly, I think the improvement is there. It's magical. This is probably the first time I've tried connecting an IEM to an external amplifier running in through a DAP, and the difference is magical. I mean, normally there is difference and it's usually for the better, but first time I actually felt that it was magical and the improvement was really good. So that being said, this is with IEMs. Now I'm going to try with headphones now. And I'm not going to go and talk about the sound quality difference because I think just now based on what I tried with the Caldera close, I think it's consistent in terms of its improvement itself. So what I'm going to do now is how much power can this guy output, right? How much power can it output? So this is the CA1A. Now this thing requires minimum 3 watts and above power to actually be loud enough to have the kind of dynamics that you want. How I know that is because when I measure it using my M17, I can reach about 88 decibel maximum volume. Before the M17 will just clip and say it overloads. And the M17, I believe, overloads at slightly more than 3 watts of power. I also tried with my M9 Plus, which is rated for 1 watt of power. It overloads at only 82 decibels, which is not loud enough for dynamic songs, right? So to have a dynamic song where your average is 75, you have to add at least 15 decibels, which means this thing have to go past 90 decibels before it's actually loud enough for an average listening experience. Now, I did try with my C9 II, and with the C9 II, it can reach 90 decibels, but that is actually the max it can reach, and the limitation is more in the voltage. The knob just doesn't have any more to push, and on the standard lineup of 4 volts, this thing can only reach 90 decibels on the C9 II, but the C9 II doesn't overload. That's the interesting part. So I'm going to try on the EA4 and see how this actually works out. So I tried the EA4 with the CA1A. I can tell you that this thing is a beast of an amplifier. Look at this, 95.3. I'm not sure. Wait, let me turn it around. 95.3 max, and that is only at the 85. For the knob itself. I think it can go louder, but it feels very messy at that point in time, and I cannot even hear whether is it distorting or not. But I managed to hear all the way to 95.3 where the bass hits. Doesn't feel like there's any distortion to the bass itself. And it's still going loud. So what can I say is that this amp definitely outputs more than 3 watts or 6 watts of power. It is a beast to get 95 decibels. To be fair, I measured it at a cup just now, as you can see in one of my clips. This one go past 90 decibel and reach 95 decibels. It's a lot louder. So if you are looking for a beastly portable amplifier, I think this is the beastly portable amplifier. I do not know how much louder can it go, but I don't want to try because 95 decibels is way too loud. I can't even hear what I'm listening now. It's just mess in my ear now. It's just way too loud. And to be fair, when you put it on ear, this foam does compresses a lot, so it gets even louder. I think this is as far I can try for this particular headphone itself. So it has always been, with the DCA Stealth or any planar headphones, the Enleum was my preferred amp of choice. So the question is, when I compare both of these with single-ended output from my M17, which do I prefer? And the answer is, it's complicated. Because the EA4 renders it differently, to the extent that I wouldn't even say it's weaker, it's just different. And if you like certain sound signature, it actually may be better. So let me describe the sound. Firstly, on the, I would say as Enleum, it's a bit more aggressive, a bit more mid-centric, and the vocals are really powerful. But on the EA4, it becomes a bit lighter, the vocals a bit more dispersed, soundstage gets bigger, however, energy is never lost. That's the difference. So even though I say the Enleum is aggressive, there is this part of the song in The Brave where it enters the chorus, and I find that Enleum always tends to lose a little bit of power there. It's like it becomes so energetic, then it loses a bit of power there and before it continues on. But with the EA4, there is this no power loss. It feels equally exciting all the way. But the Enleum on general sounds more aggressive, especially in the mid section. The vocals are more powerful, very focused, and really smash in your face kind of excitement. Bass also is very controlled and very punchy. While on the EA4, it's still very controlled, very punchy, but everything sounds bigger and more dispersed, so you lose focus. So do you prefer focus or do you prefer open sound, right? Both of them are actually slightly warm sounding to me. They don't feel much difference in that extent. But when it comes to everything else, this is like a bigger, more dispersed sound, which never loses energy even in the most exciting part of this song. While the Enleum is a very aggressive sound, very mid-forward, in your face power, But when you reach a certain part of this song, it feels like it loses some of those power itself. So which is actually better? I'm not too sure really. I mean, sounds like there's a flaw in this Enleum, but I can tell you that if you listen to it before, this focus and power in the mids are so unique to this particular amplifier itself that only the Enleum in current mode can produce. While this EA4 is just big sound, really big sound. And most importantly, when it comes to the treble region, I think the EA4 does the treble slightly better than the Enleum. So the question is, the EA4 better than Enleum? I don't think so, but it's different. Big sound, slightly more energy throughout the entire track, and a little bit more air in the higher treble. If you are into those kind of sound signature, this is the better amp for planars. While if you're into the mid-focus, aggressive, mid instruments with a lot of body and power, the Enleum still remains as my best choice if that's the signature you want. Very interesting take. And it does mean that the EA4, even though it's not a current amplifier, it's as good as it gets when it comes to powering planars on the go. So what are my final thoughts on the EA4 from Luxury and Precision? At least in its default mode, which you can see here, everything up, pure class A just now when I listen to. This EA4 is actually pure magic. It is really nice. Like improvement in soundstage, control, a lot of power, very exciting. For a tube amp, that you still have that warmness, that smoothness. This is top notch. I mean, this is, I don't know, I think it's as good as it gets really for a portable amplifier. Now, I have listened to many amplifiers for portable, and if you have seen my first look, I always say that the amplifiers are better in something, not so great in something, or maybe in certain modes they are better, in certain modes they are worse off than other amps. This is the first time I find that there is an amp that is truly equal or superior to any other portable amp or depths that I've heard so far. This is truly interesting. Like, I have not heard a single amplifier that give me that kind of feeling really. Superior in almost every way, even when versus Enleum, which is like if you ask me, the benchmark for running planars. This thing sounds different, but it's not inferior in any way. In fact, it's superior in certain fields, like soundstage. I have not found many portable amps that can beat the Enleum in soundstage for planar headphones. And excitement, power. Can you imagine that? Enleum still wins it in like the mid-aggressiveness, but this is like exciting and powerful throughout the entire song, regardless of where you play. All the while still having 6 over watts of power. Definitely tested, proven. You can get 6 watts of power here. This is truly, I think, the best portable amplifier you can get. And, honestly, it's not that big. If you compare to any other portable amplifiers that are huge, let me put them all side by side for you now. Look at this. If I put everything side by side, this is not that huge. Truly not that huge. Shocking. Shocking, really. The engineering here is truly shocking. Price-wise, this is expensive. I mean, it's 4,000 over Sing dollars, or about 3,000. I believe it's about 3,000 USD or 2,900 USD. It's the same price as the Enleum. More expensive than the Cayenne. But it is superior to the Cayenne. Definitely, I don't even need to talk about the Cayenne. And versus the Enleum is a different take that can be superior in certain ways. You are truly getting your money worth. And if you have seen my reviews before, Enleum hands down beats even the Ferrum All when it comes to powering the Susvara. At least it is my favorite amp when it comes to powering planars. This is the first time that things changed. Not that it's better in every single way, but in the fields that is better, it's truly better. And that's about it. I don't think I need to describe any further why this is such a great amp. I mean, I've said enough. This is, to me, the best amplifier I have tried, regardless of portable or not, and even regardless of price. I don't think this will actually lose to my HM1 if I will compare it in the future. I don't think it will lose to my Ferrum All because this already is superior compared to my Enleum in certain ways. this is truly marvelous of a amplifier. That's about it today. I hope you enjoy my short little first look of the luxury and precision EA4. A true beauty in terms of power, in terms of sound quality, and even in size. It's not that crazily huge. And I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.